Hi everybody, in this video we're going to learn about the map method in JavaScript. So what the map method does is it calls a callback function on each element of an array, and it's going to return a new array with the results. So we're going to go over a small example first just to get an idea of what the map method is doing. Let's make a constant called log numbers, and we're going to use the map method on our numbers array up here. So the map method can take in three parameters. The first one is the element, the second is the index, and then the third is going to be the array. So let's run an example here. So for the element, I'm going to name it number because I like to have the singular of what our list is since it's going to log each element. So let's return number. And we're just going to console log out log numbers so we can see what this is here. You can see it's returning each element, 1, 2, and 3, and that's because it's going over each element in our array. Second one is going to be index, and that's going to return each index of each element in our array. So 0, 1, and 2, you can see that here. And then we're going to log out array. So this will return the entire array, and it's returning it in an array 3 times because we're going over each element. So we have 1, 2, and 3 logging over this 3 times, and we're returning that same array 3 times. Next, we're going to use the map method to perform an operation on each element in the array. Let's go ahead and make a constant called double numbers. And we're going to run the map method on our numbers array again. And I'm passing in the element parameter named number, and we're going to take each number and multiply it by 2. So if we go and console log double numbers, we can see here that we have each element in the array again multiplied by 2. 2, 4, and 6, and it's returned as an array. If we want, we can also extract this function that's inside the map method. So I'm going to run another example here and just comment this out for now. And we'll make a function called multiply by 2. We're going to use an arrow function here. We're passing in the number parameter just like we did up here. And we're going to take each number, multiply it by 2. So now we need to invoke this function. So let's do what we did up above and make a constant called double numbers. And we're just going to run the map method again on the numbers array. And instead of using the function directly in the map method, we're going to use our multiply by 2 function. Now if we again log out double numbers, you'll see that we have the same result as above where each number in the array is multiplied by 2. In this next example, we're going to use both the element and the index parameters to create some functionality using the map method. First, we'll create a parameter called numbers multiplied by index, and we'll take our numbers array again and run the map method. And we're going to pass in both the number and the index parameter. And what we'll do here is we're going to take each element and multiply it by the index of each element. And if we console log out numbers multiplied by index, you can see here we're getting an array returned with each number multiplied by the index of each element, so 0, 2, and 6. Just like we did before, we do have the ability to extract this functionality into its own variable. So let's go ahead and make a variable called multiply by index. And we're going to pass in our number and index parameters using an arrow function. And we have the same functionality above, number times index. me comment this out for right now. And we'll make the same variable name called numbers multiplied by index. And we'll run our map method on the numbers array again. And then here, we're going to run our multiply by index function. And let's log out our variable here. So we'll log out numbers multiplied by index. And then you'll see the same result that we got above with an array returned with each element multiplied by the index, 0, 2, and 6. In our next example, we're going to use all three parameters for the map method. So we're going to use the element index and array parameters. And we're going to return an array of numbers multiplied by the next value in the array. Let's create our variables called numbers multiplied by next value. And we'll run the map method on our numbers array. Pass in number, index, and array. And now we're going to return. We're going to take our number, which is going to be each element in the array. And now to access the next number in the array, we need to take the array parameter. So remember, that's going to return this entire array here. To access a specific element in that array, we can pass in the index. And now to get the next element, so for our first run through, we would be here. To get that next element, we want to just add 1. Let's log this out. So you can see that we have 1 times 2, that's returning 2. 2 times 3 is returning 6. And then this last element here is returning NaN, which is not a number. Let me go ahead and show you why. Let's log out array at each index so you can see what that's doing here. So array at index is returning each of the individual elements in the array. Now, if we add 1, it returns the next one. But after 3, there are no more numbers in the array, so it returns undefined. So what's happening here is that we're multiplying 3 times undefined, and that's why that returns not a number. Let's try a bit of a more complex example using an array of objects. Here we have an array of names, and each object contains the first name and last name. What we're going to do is make a constant called getFullNames, and we're going to run our map method on the names array. This here will return each object in this array. Now to access a part of each object, we can use our dot notation. So name here would first return this. And we can access the first name, key. Now we're just going to create a space, and we're going to concatenate these. And we can access last name. Let's log this out. And you'll see it returns an array with the first and last name concatenated. So we have John Smith and Jessica Frederick. The map method has a second parameter that's often forgotten about. Let's take a look here. So if we look at the map method, we were just working with the callback function that can be passed in, but it also has a second parameter called the thisArg. I'm not going to go into too much detail about what this does exactly, but I did just want to make it known for this tutorial. So this value is defaulted to undefined, and to access it, you can't use an arrow function. You have to use a regular function declaration. Let's log out new array right now. And you can see this is running over each element and it's returning not a number 3 times. And that's because this value defaults to undefined. To update that value, we just pass in our second parameter here. And I passed in 2. So this right now is 2. So it's doing 2 times number. And we get our each element in the array multiplied by 2. Let's do a quick recap on what we've learned about the map method. Map method takes in a callback function on each element of an array, and then it's going to return a new array with the new results. So we learned that the callback function can take in 3 parameters, the element parameter, index, and array. It can also extract this functionality into its own function, and then pass in that function. We can use the map method on an array of objects, and we can access each of these objects' keys with the dot notation. And we learned about the often forgotten about second parameter of the map method, the this argument. We learned that it defaults to undefined if it's not passed in, and you do have to use it with a function declaration in order to get it to work properly. Thanks for watching the video. Hope to see you in the next one.